The sun was setting on a quiet Tuesday evening when everything changed. In the blink of an eye, humanity's belief that they were alone in the universe shattered like glass. At exactly 7:42 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every alarm in NASA's Space Monitoring Center began to blare. Scientists and technicians rushed to their stations, fingers flying over keyboards as they tried to make sense of the data flooding their screens. "What's going on?" demanded Director Sarah Chen as she burst into the room, her normally calm face etched with worry. A young scientist named Michael looked up from his computer, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Director, you're not going to believe this. We've detected a massive fleet of something entering the solar system." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "Asteroids." Michael shook his head. "No, ma'am. These objects are moving against the gravitational pull. They're ships. Alien ships." The room fell silent for a moment as the weight of his words sank in. Then chaos erupted. "How many?" Sarah asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Thousands," Michael replied. "Maybe tens of thousands. They're approaching from beyond Pluto's orbit." Sarah closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and opened them again. "Get me the president. Now." Within hours, the news had spread across the globe. Governments scrambled to respond, militaries went on high alert, and people everywhere looked to the sky with a mixture of fear and wonder. In New York, United Nations Secretary General Amina Okafor called for an emergency meeting of the Security Council. Leaders from around the world rushed to attend, some in person, others joining virtually. As Amina stood before the gathered representatives, her voice rang out clear and strong. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face an unprecedented situation. An alien fleet approaches Earth. Their intentions are unknown, but we must be prepared for any possibility." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, each leader trying to make themselves heard above the rest. Some called for immediate military action, others for attempts at peaceful communication. Meanwhile, in living rooms and public squares across the planet, humans of all ages and backgrounds gathered around screens, watching the events unfold. In a small town in Brazil, Maria clutched her young son to her chest as they stared at the television. "Mama, are the aliens going to hurt us?" the boy asked. Maria stroked his hair, her eyes never leaving the screen. "I don't know, meu amor, but we are strong. Humanity has faced many challenges before. We will face this one too." Back at NASA, Sarah and her team worked tirelessly to gather more information about the approaching fleet. As the hours ticked by, the ships drew closer, their massive forms now visible through Earth's most powerful telescopes. "Director," Michael called out, his voice tight with tension. "We're receiving a transmission from the lead ship. They're asking to speak with Earth's leaders." Sarah's heart raced as she relayed this information to the UN Security Council. The world held its breath, waiting to hear what the aliens would say. In Washington, D.C., President Amelia Rodriguez sat in the Oval Office, surrounded by her top advisors. Her face was grim as she listened to the latest updates. "Madam President," her chief of staff said, "the UN is requesting your presence for the first contact communication. What should we do?" Amelia stood up, her eyes flashing with determination. "We face this together. Inform the UN that I'll be there, and get me our top linguists and diplomats. We're about to make history." As the alien fleet drew ever closer, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. Fear and excitement coursed through the veins of every person on Earth. No one knew what the aliens wanted or how this encounter would end. But one thing was certain: the world would never be the same again. Humanity was about to meet its first extraterrestrial civilization, and the future of Earth hung in the balance. The world watched with bated breath as the United Nations building in New York became the stage for humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Inside, leaders from around the globe sat in tense silence, their eyes fixed on the large screen at the front of the room. President Amelia Rodriguez of the United States stood at the podium, flanked by UN Secretary-General Amina Okafor and a team of Earth's top linguists and diplomats. As the countdown to transmission reached 0, Amelia took a deep breath and spoke. "This is President Amelia Rodriguez, representing the people of Earth. We greet you in peace and hope for friendly communication." For a moment, there was only silence. Then the screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that would be forever etched in human history. The alien that appeared was unlike anything anyone had imagined. It had a tall, slender body covered in iridescent scales. Its head was elongated with 3 large, dark eyes arranged in a triangle. When it spoke, its voice was a mix of low rumbles and high-pitched clicks that the translation software struggled to decipher. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said, its words appearing as subtitles on the screen. "I am High Commander Zixnar of the Galactic Empire. We have come to offer you a great opportunity." Amelia's eyebrows rose. "And what opportunity is that, High Commander?" Zixnar's mouth parts twitched in what might have been a smile. "The opportunity to join our glorious empire, of course, to become part of a civilization that spans thousands of galaxies." A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. Amelia exchanged a glance with Amina before responding. "That's a very interesting offer, High Commander. However, Earth is not looking to be ruled by an outside force. We value our independence." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand, human. This is not an offer. It is a demand. The Galactic Empire does not ask. It takes." The room erupted in angry shouts. Amelia raised her hand for silence, her face hard. "I'm afraid that's not acceptable, High Commander. Earth and its people are not for sale or conquest." Zixnar leaned closer to the screen, its voice dropping to a menacing growl. "You have no choice in the matter. Surrender now, and your integration will be painless. Resist, and we will crush you." With that, the transmission cut off, leaving the room in stunned silence. For a moment, no one moved. Then, chaos erupted as leaders began shouting over each other, some calling for immediate surrender, others demanding military action. Amina's voice cut through the noise. "Silence," she shouted. As the room quieted, she continued, "This is not the time for panic. We must stand united in the face of this threat." Across the globe, the reaction to the aliens' ultimatum was one of shock and defiance. In London's Trafalgar Square, thousands gathered, waving signs that read "Earth for Humans" and "No to Alien Rule." In a small village in Kenya, Elder Kwasi Ose gathered his community. "We have faced colonizers before," he said, his voice strong despite his age. "We did not bow then, and we will not bow now." Meanwhile, in a secret military facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Lai Wei of China conferred with his counterparts from other nations. "We cannot match their technology," the Russian general said, her face grim. Lai Wei nodded. "Perhaps not. But we have something they don't expect. The human spirit. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own wars. We'll survive this too." As the deadline for Earth's surrender approached, a sense of grim determination settled over the planet. In labs and military bases, scientists and soldiers worked around the clock, preparing for the battle to come. In the White House Situation Room, President Rodriguez met with her top advisors. "What are our options?" she asked. The Secretary of Defense cleared his throat. "Madam President, we've been keeping something from you, something that might just save us all." Amelia leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "I'm listening." As the secretary began to explain, a spark of hope ignited in Amelia's chest. Perhaps, just perhaps, humanity had a chance after all. Outside, the night sky glittered with stars, and the looming shapes of the Empire's warships. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The tension in the White House Situation Room was thick enough to cut with a knife. President Amelia Rodriguez leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the Secretary of Defense. "Tell me about this secret weapon," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The secretary nodded, his face grave. Madam President, for the past decade, we've been working on a project called Aegis. It's a quantum shielding technology that could protect our entire planet. Gasps echoed around the room. Amelia's eyes widened. And you're just telling me this now? We needed absolute secrecy, the secretary explained. If word got out, it could have sparked a global panic or worse, alerted potential enemies. Amelia stood up, pacing the room. Does it work? A woman in a lab coat stepped forward. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, lead scientist on Project Aegis. She introduced herself. In our tests, the shield has successfully repelled energy weapons far more advanced than anything we've developed. We believe it can withstand the Empire's attacks. Hope bloomed in Amelia's chest, but she tempered it with caution. What's the catch? Dr. Tanaka's face fell slightly. We've never deployed it on a planetary scale. The energy requirements are substantial. We'd need to divert power from every major grid on Earth. The room erupted in a flurry of discussions. Amelia raised her hand for silence. How long do you need to get it ready? 12 hours, Dr. Tanaka replied. Maybe less if we have global cooperation. Amelia nodded decisively. Make it happen. I'll coordinate with other world leaders. As the team dispersed, Amelia turned to her chief of staff. Get me a secure line to every head of state. It's time to rally the troops. Across the globe, top-secret facilities hummed with activity. In the deserts of Nevada, massive generators roared to life. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, hidden antennas began to pulse with energy. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, long-dormant systems awakened. In cities worldwide, people watched in confusion as their lights flickered and dimmed. Governments issued statements asking for calm and conservation of energy, citing a global emergency exercise. In a small town in Germany, Hannah Schmidt watched the strange lights in the sky with her telescope. Papa, she called out, the stars are moving. Her father, an astronomy professor, looked through the telescope and gasped. What Hannah had seen weren't stars, but the Empire's ships, now visible to the naked eye as they drew closer to Earth. Meanwhile, in orbit, astronauts aboard the International Space Station had a front-row seat to history. Commander Yuri Petrov radioed mission control, his voice filled with awe and fear. Houston, the alien fleet. It's like nothing we've ever seen. There are thousands of ships, maybe more. Back on Earth, military leaders from around the world convened in a virtual war room. General Lai Wei of China addressed the group. Our conventional weapons will be useless against their technology. Our only hope is Project Aegis. And if it fails? Asked the British general. Lai Wei's face was grim. Then we fight with everything we have. We show these aliens that conquering Earth will cost them dearly. As the deadline approached, President Rodriguez addressed the world. Her face, broadcast on screens large and small, was a mask of determination. Citizens of Earth, she began, we face the greatest threat in human history. An alien empire seeks to conquer us, to strip away our freedom and identity. But they underestimate us. They don't know our strength, our resilience, our unwavering spirit. She paused, her eyes seeming to meet those of every viewer. In the coming hours, we will stand together as one people, not as nations or races, but as Earthlings. We have a plan to defend our home, but it requires sacrifice from all of us. As Amelia explained the need for energy conservation, people around the world sprang into action. Lights went out, factories shut down, and millions of people stepped outside, looking up at the sky with a mix of fear and defiance. In New York, Tokyo, Lagos, and countless other cities, crowds gathered in darkened streets, holding candles and singing songs of unity and resistance. As the final seconds ticked away, Dr. Tanaka stood in the control room of Project Aegis, her hand hovering over the activation switch. She looked at the countdown clock, then at the faces of her team. For Earth, she said softly, and flipped the switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a low hum began to build, growing louder and louder until it filled the air. In the sky, a shimmering curtain of energy began to form, enveloping the entire planet. The shield was up. Earth's last line of defense was in place. Now all humanity could do was wait and hope it would be enough to stop the Empire's attack. The world held its breath as the Galactic Empire's fleet approached Earth. The planet was encased in the shimmering energy of the Aegis shield, a last-ditch effort to protect humanity from the alien invaders. In the White House Situation Room, President Amelia Rodriguez watched the large screen with tense anticipation. Beside her, Dr. Yuki Tanaka monitored the shield's status, her fingers flying over a tablet. "Madam President," a general spoke up, "the alien ships have entered lunar orbit. They'll be in weapons range in 2 minutes." Amelia nodded grimly. "And so it begins," she muttered. High above the Earth, aboard the Empire's massive flagship, High Commander Zixnar observed the blue planet with its strange, shimmering barrier. "What is this?" Zixnar demanded, its 3 eyes narrowing. A subordinate alien approached, bowing low. "Unknown, High Commander. Our scans cannot penetrate it." Zixnar's mouthparts clicked in annoyance. "No matter. It will fall like all the others. Commence the attack." On Earth, millions watched their screens as the first wave of alien ships descended, their weapons charging with an eerie green glow. In New York's Times Square, the crowd gasped as the sky lit up with the aliens' first salvo. Streaks of green energy lanced down from the heavens, striking the Aegis shield with tremendous force. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed the shield might fail. It flickered and wavered, drawing cries of fear from those watching. But then, miraculously, it held. Back in the Situation Room, Dr. Tanaka pumped her fist in triumph. "It's working," she exclaimed. "The shield is absorbing and dispersing the energy of their weapons." A cheer went up from the assembled officials, but Amelia remained cautious. "How long can it hold?" she asked. Dr. Tanaka's face grew serious. "Hard to say. Hours, maybe days if we're lucky. But not indefinitely." Amelia turned to her military advisors. "Then we need to strike back while we can. What are our options?" In orbit, Zixnar watched in disbelief as the human shield withstood barrage after barrage from the Empire's most powerful weapons. "Impossible," Zixnar roared. "Increase power to all weapons. I want that shield down now." The intensity of the alien attack doubled, then tripled. The night sky blazed with the light of 1,000 suns as the Empire threw everything it had at Earth. On the ground, the effects were immediately felt. The shield held, but the dispersed energy caused massive electromagnetic disturbances. Power grids fluctuated wildly. Communications became erratic, and aurora-like lights danced in skies around the world. In a small coastal town in Australia, Sarah Chen, a local electrician, worked frantically to keep the town's power station from overloading. "Come on, you beauty," she muttered, manually adjusting circuits. "Just hold together a little longer." Meanwhile, in the skies above Brazil, a squadron of human fighter pilots watched in awe as alien ships swarmed around the shield, firing relentlessly. "All right, Omega Squadron," the lead pilot, Captain Miguel Herrera, radioed to his team. "The eggheads say the shield creates a weakness in the alien ship's own defenses when they fire. Let's put that theory to the test." The human fighters streaked upward, passing through the Aegis shield as if it wasn't there. They engaged the alien ships, their missiles finding weak points in the invaders' armor. To everyone's shock, the human weapons proved effective. One by one, alien ships began to fall, streaming fire as they plummeted to Earth. In the Empire's flagship, alarms blared as reports of losses poured in. Zixnar's composure finally cracked. "How is this possible?" it screeched. "They're savages, primitives." A junior officer approached cautiously. "High Commander, we've lost 1/12 of our fleet. Perhaps we should regroup and—" Zixnar lashed out, striking the officer. "No, I will not be defeated by these humans. Prepare the world breaker. Back on Earth, as news of the military's successful counterattack spread, a cautious optimism began to take hold. In cities around the world, cheers erupted as people watched alien ships fall from the sky. But in the White House Situation Room, the mood remained tense. Amelia knew the battle was far from over. "Madam President," a communications officer called out, "we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the alien fleet. Something big is coming." As if on cue, the Aegis shield flared brilliantly, straining against an unseen force. Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened in alarm as she read the incoming data. "Whatever they're doing," she said, her voice shaking, "I don't think the shield can take much more of it." Amelia straightened her back, her jaw set with determination. "Then we need to end this. Now, get me our best tactical minds. It's time to take the fight to them." As the Aegis shield flickered ominously, humanity prepared for its most desperate gambit yet. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. The Aegis shield flickered dangerously as the alien world breaker unleashed its terrifying power. In the White House Situation Room, alarms blared and screens flashed with urgent warnings. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's fingers flew over her keyboard. "The shield can't take much more of this," she shouted over the noise. "We have maybe an hour before total failure." President Amelia Rodriguez's face was grim but determined. "Then we have 1 hour to end this war," she said. Turning to her military advisors, she asked, "What's our best option for a counterattack?" General Lai Wei stepped forward, his eyes bright with a daring plan. "Madam President, we've analyzed the alien fleet's formation. Their command ships are clustered at the rear. If we can take those out, we might be able to throw their entire force into disarray." Amelia nodded. "How do we get to them?" A young scientist named Alex spoke up. "We've been studying the alien tech from the ships we shot down. We think we can modify our own ships to mimic their energy signatures. It might let us slip past their defenses." The room fell silent as everyone considered the audacious plan. It was risky, maybe even suicidal, but it was also their best chance. Amelia took a deep breath. "Do it," she ordered. "And get me our best pilots." Halfway around the world, in a hidden military base in the Australian outback, Captain Zoran Mosu received the call she'd been waiting for her whole life. "Captain," her commanding officer said, his voice crackling over the secure line, "how'd you like to save the world?" Zara's heart raced as she listened to the plan. It was crazy, nearly impossible, but her lips curved into a fierce grin. "When do we start, sir?" Within the hour, a small squadron of Earth's most advanced fighters, hastily modified with alien tech, prepared for launch. Zara stood before her team, her eyes scanning the determined faces of her fellow pilots. "I won't lie to you," she said, her voice carrying across the hangar. "This mission is as dangerous as they come, but every human on Earth is counting on us. We are their last hope." The pilots saluted, their faces a mix of fear and resolve. They climbed into their cockpits, engines roaring to life. As the fighters streaked into the sky, the battle above raged fiercer than ever. The Aegis shield was now visibly faltering, patches of Earth's atmosphere exposed to the relentless alien assault. In the Empire's flagship, High Commander Zixnar watched with cruel satisfaction. At last, it hissed, "The humans' pathetic defenses crumble. Prepare for planetary bombardment." But Zixnar's triumph was premature. Alarms suddenly blared across the alien fleet as Earth's fighters, disguised as Empire ships, slipped past their outer defenses. "High Commander," an officer cried, "enemy fighters have breached our lines. They're heading straight for the command ships." Zixnar's 3 eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. Destroy them." But it was too late. Zara and her team had already begun their attack run. Their missiles, enhanced with reversed-engineered alien technology, streaked towards the vulnerable command ships. "For Earth," Zara yelled as she unleashed her payload. Explosions blossomed across space as the human missiles found their marks. One by one, the Empire's command ships erupted in flames. On Earth, cheers erupted in the Situation Room as they watched the alien fleet fall into chaos. Ships collided with each other, their coordinated attack dissolving into confusion. "It's working," Dr. Tanaka exclaimed. "The alien attack on the shield is weakening." But the battle was far from over. Zixnar, enraged by this unexpected turn of events, took personal control of the Worldbreaker. "If I can't have this planet," it snarled, "then no one will." The massive weapon began to charge, its power building to levels that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of space. Zara saw the danger. "That thing's gonna blow." She radioed to her team. "We need to take it out now." In a desperate maneuver, the Earth fighters converged on the Worldbreaker. They dodged and weaved through a hail of alien fire, their ships taking hit after hit. Zara's fighter, trailing smoke and sparks, lined up for the final shot. Her targeting computer locked onto a vulnerable spot on the massive weapon. "This is for Earth," she whispered and pressed the fire button. Her last missile streaked towards the Worldbreaker. Time seemed to stand still as everyone, human and alien alike, watched its path. The missile struck home. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash that outshone the sun, the Worldbreaker exploded. The shockwave rippled across space, catching alien and human ships alike. Zara's fighter tumbled end over end, systems failing. As she fought to regain control, Zara caught a glimpse of the alien fleet. Ships were exploding or fleeing in all directions. They were running away. With the last of her fighter's power, Zara opened a channel to Earth. Her voice, filled with pain but also triumph, crackled through the static. "Earth, we did it. We won." The explosion of the Worldbreaker sent shockwaves across the galaxy. As the remnants of the once mighty Galactic Empire fleet retreated from Earth's orbit, news of their defeat spread like wildfire through the cosmos. On countless worlds under Empire control, enslaved species looked to the skies with new hope in their hearts. The unthinkable had happened. Someone had stood up to the Empire and won. Back on Earth, the aftermath of the battle was a mixture of jubilation and somber reflection. Cities around the world erupted in celebration, people pouring into the streets to cheer, hug strangers, and gaze in wonder at the sky that had so recently been a battleground. In New York's Times Square, a massive screen showed looping footage of the alien ships fleeing. The crowd roared with each replay, waving flags from every nation on Earth. But amidst the joy, there was also grief. Many had lost their lives in the conflict, both in space and on the ground. Memorials sprang up in towns and cities, honoring those who had fallen in humanity's darkest hour. In the White House, President Emilio Rodriguez sat alone in the Oval Office, the weight of recent events heavy on her shoulders. A knock on the door roused her from her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Dr. Yuki Tanaka entered, looking exhausted but triumphant. "Madam President, I have news from our deep space monitoring stations." Amelia leaned forward, instantly alert. "Go on." "The Empire's defeat here has triggered a chain reaction," Yuki explained, her eyes shining with excitement. "We're picking up transmissions from all over the galaxy. Other species are rebelling against Empire rule. It's a full-scale galactic revolution." Amelia sat back, stunned. "My God," she whispered, "what have we started?" Meanwhile, in a military hospital in Australia, Captain Zoran Mosu was slowly regaining consciousness. Her eyes fluttered open to see her fellow pilots gathered around her bed, all bandaged but alive. "Did we do it?" she croaked, her throat dry. "Did we win?" Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Chen, grinned broadly. "We did more than win, Captain. We've become legends. The whole galaxy is talking about us." Zara tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Easy there, hero," a nurse admonished gently. "You've got a lot of healing to do." As Zara settled back, A television in the corner of the room caught her attention. It showed scenes from around the world, cheering crowds, tearful reunions, and something else. Images from space of strange alien worlds, their inhabitants rising up against Empire forces. "What's happening out there?" Zara asked, her eyes wide. "The Empire is falling," Chin explained. "And it's all because of what we did here." Across the galaxy, on a planet light years from Earth, a young alien named Exorlath watched in awe as Empire troops fled from his world. All his life, he had known nothing but oppression. Now, for the first time, he tasted freedom. "Who did this?" he asked an elder of his species. "Who freed us?" The elder's eyes twinkled. "A species called humans, from a planet called Earth. They stood against the Empire when no one else would." Exorlath looked up at the stars, wonder filling his heart. "Humans," he repeated softly. "Earth." Back in New York, the United Nations convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to discuss the planet's new role in galactic affairs. Secretary General Amina Okafor addressed the assembly, her voice ringing with purpose. "We stand at a crossroads in human history," she declared. "We are no longer alone in the universe, and we have proven ourselves equal to any challenge. The question now is, what do we do with this new reality?" Debates raged for hours. Some argued for isolation, to protect Earth from further alien threats. Others pushed for reaching out to the newly liberated species, to forge alliances and expand humanity's influence. As the sun set over New York, casting a golden glow over the city, no firm decisions had been reached, but there was a sense of excitement, of limitless possibility, that permeated the chamber. In orbit above Earth, the International Space Station had survived the battle largely intact. Its crew, along with hastily sent reinforcements, were busy studying the alien technology left behind. Commander Yuri Petrov floated in the observation module, gazing down at the blue marble of Earth. Beside him, fragments of alien ships drifted past, a testament to the recent conflict. "You know," he said to his fellow astronaut, "I always dreamed of exploring the stars. I never imagined the stars would come to us first." His companion nodded. "So, what do you think comes next?" Yuri smiled, his eyes reflecting the light of distant suns. "Next? My friend, we have a whole galaxy waiting for us. This is just the beginning." As night fell across Earth, its people looked to the sky with new eyes. The stars were no longer distant, unreachable points of light. They were destinations, full of wonders and challenges yet to be discovered. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged victorious. Now, a new chapter in Earth's history was about to begin. 1 year had passed since Earth's historic victory over the Galactic Empire. The planet had changed in ways few could have imagined before the invasion. In the fields outside Geneva, a massive structure rose towards the sky, the newly completed Galactic Embassy. Its architecture blended human design with alien influences, a symbol of Earth's new role in the cosmos. Inside the embassy's grand hall, President Amelia Rodriguez stood before a diverse assembly. Humans from every nation were present, but they were outnumbered by representatives from 100 alien species. Some floated in anti-gravity bubbles, others towered over their human hosts, and a few were so strange that they defied easy description. Amelia took a deep breath and began her speech. "Friends, allies, fellow sentients, 1 year ago, Earth stood alone against a tyrannical empire. Today, we stand together as free peoples of a liberated galaxy." A ripple of agreement passed through the crowd. Translator devices hummed, conveying her words into a cacophony of alien languages. "We have formed the Galactic Alliance," Amelia continued, "not to rule, but to protect. To ensure that no species ever again faces the threat of enslavement or extinction." In the audience, Captain Zoran Mosu listened with pride. Her uniform now bore new insignia. She was the first human commander of a joint human-alien spaceship, Beside her sat her alien first officer, Zordath, whose world had been one of the first liberated in the wake of Earth's victory. Zura leaned towards Exorlath and whispered, "Did you ever imagine we'd be here, that day your world was freed?" Zorlath's facial tentacles rippled in what Zora had learned was a smile. "Never," he replied. "But I'm glad we are." As Amelia's speech concluded, the assembly broke into applause and a variety of alien equivalents. Some species pulsed with bioluminescence, others emitted harmonic tones, and one group of crystalline beings clinked their facets together in appreciation. Meanwhile, in classrooms around the world, children were learning about their new galactic neighbors. In a small school in Nairobi, a teacher named Amani Okoro was giving a lesson on alien biology. "Now who can tell me which species has 3 hearts?" she asked. A young girl named Keone raised her hand excitedly. "The Zortaxians from the Andromeda Galaxy." Amani beamed. "Excellent. Keone. And why do they need 3 hearts?" "Because their home planet has really high gravity, so they need extra strong circulation," Keone answered confidently. "Very good," Amani praised. She looked around at the eager faces of her students. Just a year ago, these children had only known of life on Earth. Now, the universe was their classroom. In orbit above Earth, the former International Space Station had been expanded into Gateway 1, humanity's first true spaceport. Ships of both human and alien design docked there, exchanging goods, knowledge, and culture. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, now head of Earth's Xenotechnology Division, walked through Gateway 1's bustling corridors. She marveled at how quickly humans had adapted to their new reality. Scientists worked alongside alien researchers, each learning from the other. She paused at a viewport, gazing out at the stars. A sleek ship was departing, the ESS Unity, Earth's first faster-than-light vessel. It was heading out on a mission of exploration, crewed by both humans and aliens. "Going to watch the launch?" a voice asked. Yuki turned to see General Lai Wei, now Earth's representative on the Galactic Alliance's Defense Council. Yuki nodded. "I wouldn't miss it. It's amazing how far we've come in just a year." Lai Wei smiled. "And to think, it all started because we said no to an empire." As they watched, the Unity's engines flared to life. In a flash of light, it vanished into the depths of space, carrying with it humanity's endless curiosity and newfound spirit of cooperation. Back on Earth, in the small coastal town in Australia, where Sarah Chen had once fought to keep the power on during the invasion, a new monument stood in the town square. It was a simple plaque that read, "On this day, humanity looked to the stars not in fear, but in friendship." As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant hues, people gathered around the monument. Humans stood shoulder to shoulder with visiting aliens, all gazing up at the first stars appearing in the twilight. A young boy tugged on his mother's sleeve, pointing up. "Mom, which one of those is our new friend's home?" His mother smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "All of them, sweetheart, all of them." And so, as night fell on Earth, it was not an end, but a beginning. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The galaxy was no longer a distant, unreachable realm, but a community, vast and varied, filled with wonders and possibilities. Earth had declared its independence, and in doing so, had helped forge a new era of galactic peace and cooperation. The future, bright with the light of billions of stars, awaited.